Hello, welcome to the queue. It is the Invasion Normandy series, and we're looking at some of the 3D units. Before we get there, though, in playtesting this game, at the beginning, I had to create a set box of units to playtest the game, just to keep them separate. So I had all the pieces that I had that I needed. Um, and it was a hodgepodge of the black German units that I don't use anymore, and I didn't have enough, so there was a lot of off-color neutrals, whites and yellows, and it kind of looked really weird. We had some different pieces that we were using for the French, so I got some French partisans actually, um, and they look pretty good. I like those a lot. Um, just to fill out the box. And then, of course, these are all the allied units that I don't currently use in my sets, mostly unpainted. But we're starting to paint up some Canadians and get them rolling. Um, but to start off playing this game, to fill out these black units so it didn't look so goofy, I started buying some of the 3D units here, artillery and mechs and rocket launchers and tanks and more artillery, the 88s there, in black, just so that it looked better on the board while we're playing. Not essential, but um, it helps. So the 3D units, we're going to look at these here. I want to zoom in a little too far there. This grouping here actually was made specifically for this game. Now, the first one I got here is these Goliaths, which, if you're not familiar with those, they were like a radio-controlled vehicle filled with explosives that the Germans would move in to position and drive up towards, Allied, whether it was tanks or positions, and then set them off. They were somewhat, you know, devastating when they worked, but sometimes they didn't work so well because they were wired controlled, and sometimes the wires, obviously got jacked up. But anyway, that was the first one. I couldn't play the game because there's 10 of those on the German side, so that was the first ones that HB sent me, was these Goliaths. And then, as we're playtesting all these other kind of 3D pieces, the mines didn't, they were kind of came out and we tried to use them different ways, but the way we're using them now, they don't actually go on the board. So um, you'll see these in the North Africa sets because the mines actually go on the battlefield. I think it's this larger one here. So that they've made it to there. This one here, the flak battery, was actually created to represent the flak batteries as stationary anti-aircraft. This one here, I think, is an upgrade that just came out, and it has sandbags instead of that wall. So that one's kind of cool. It's a little larger, so maybe this just needs to be reduced a little bit. The other one I just got that I haven't had the chance to paint yet is this B-26 for a tactical bomber. Next to it, the Typhoon. I know that was created for this game, and I really like that one. Having a hard time with those stickers for the black and white stripes. The stickers that are available, the decals, they're just a little too brittle, so sometimes they don't work. So I don't know if that's how I'm going to go or try and paint those. I painted some, but they look kind of weird, painting the black stripes. So we'll see where we go from there. All sorts of fortifications have come, and these anti-tank obstacles there. This here is infantry machine gun to represent the static infantry. I have used that in Global War 36 as my militia on the Atlantic Wall when I played Germany. There's another here, a Tobruk, with a tank turret on it. Didn't get used in the game, but nonetheless, it was made and as an idea. And this Sherman here, if you look on the front here, has these hedgehogs welded to the front, which is actually this steel here from these what they called hedgehogs. they cut them up and welded them on there to get through the hedgerows. So that was another 3D piece that was created for this game. Moving on to the next section, and these are engineers and medics. You can see I've got these these medic trucks, and I'll flip one of them over. Well, I can't. I'll flip them over like that so you can kind of see the side. I've got them painted. I've got a Canadian, British, and U.S. This would be the German one. I haven't finished painting it yet. But those were created for this game. I like the smaller size because they don't count towards the stacking limit in each hex. So being that small, they fit in really well. The German one is a little larger. But for the engineer, I already had these 3D Jeeps. So I basically painted some green and some brown and used those while playtesting as my engineers for the U.S. This German half-track here, it came out. It's got a bridging unit on top of it. So that's what the German engineer unit was. But here was another option, a tank with a bulldozer, which you can see some of these other vehicles with bulldozers. You could use those as engineers. Here's an actual bridging unit on top of a Sherman hull. So there are many options to use for your engineers. And outside of the Jeep, all these 3D models were created, in the playtesting of this game. So, and I think they're all for sale in individual spots on the map. Now, maybe not these engineer vehicles yet, but I know the German one is, and the half track. So those are kind of cool. These being my favorite. Well, mainly because I got them done painted and deckled, and they just look pretty good. A lot of people would use the chips early on. Let me grab what I was using. Of course, I can't dig one out of the box. I was using these red chips as my medics, which is fine for play testing. But when these came out, I got them on the board. It was way more exciting to see. Next section is just some 3D printed units that were already out that we used in the game. A couple of radars. Here's your rail gun. And the Nebelwerfer, if I'm saying that right, rocket launcher. This one's new. It's a late war Sherman, so not really at Normandy, but I still liked it, so I painted up a couple of them in Canadian, along with some artillery. And this half track is really good. It's the M3 half track for the U.S. I bought a bunch of those and painted those up as well. The next section is kind of probably my favorite, the DD tanks. And you can see, these are fitted with those exhaust ports, and these here are fitted with the canopy, that folded up while it was in the water. So those are kind of cool. And then here's one. These are all Shermans, but this one here is on a Churchill tank. So those were kind of cool. They really go well with when you're setting up on the beach hexes, and each beach hex. Well, most of them, not all of them, have a tank. So, I'll use these DD tanks on the beach for the first wave of tanks. The next grouping here is what you would notice as, or refer to as, Hobart's funnies. A bunch of different minefield vehicles. Here's a Churchill with a bridge mat there, or for crossing soft ground or sand. It would roll out that mat of whether it was logs or steel netting or whatever it might be. So that might be a good engineer vehicle too. And like I said, all these other different mine layers, and then up here a couple more bulldozers that you could use for engineering if you wanted. I just like the other ones better. So those are kind of cool, and I think they'll have more of a role in the advanced game than this, or game that's coming out in November, the basic game. But I'll still use these as tanks. They'll count as the tanks in the army, so to speak. And then finally, we've got Airborne, and all of these were created for this game. Got a German Airborne there, British, Canadian, and they're slightly different. And then the two Americans, and you've got the regular one. But let me pick this one up and see if we can get it up close. If you can see that mohawk on there, that's pretty cool. So I got a set of those, and then a set of the regulars for the Americans. So that's kind of the set. Look at the Canadian and German there. Sten gun, and then the MP40. They're pretty cool. I didn't really need these, but I wanted them, so there they are. So that's a look at the 3D units that have come out for this game, that I've used in this game. And you're welcome to set yours up however you want to do it, but the 3D printer has really changed playtesting and game production. I mean, the ability to punch out the pieces you need is just, it's a miracle. It's what it is. based off the old days when you have to play with the plastic pieces that were available, and that was not nearly as functional as all these 3D pieces are. So that is the look at the units. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another video coming out on Invasion Normandy.